Welcome to Beyond 2020, a post-pandemic festival. This is the showcase of a year-long project where 8 artists were selected to create works that respond to our changing world due to the pandemic, which, as we know, forced closures of galleries, meaning that artists needed to find new ways of engaging with audiences and with each other. The artists selected spent the past year working from homes and studios around the globe, from Switzerland, Bern, Lausanne, Zurich, Geneva, to Portland in Oregon, Providence in Rhode Island, San Francisco, Berlin, Rome, and Amsterdam. And this project presents one part of Swissnex's interdisciplinary nature. We work with many industries, and in this project, we partner with Pro Helvetia, the Swiss Arts Council, to facilitate Swiss artists' promotion and cultural exchanges. And we are active in the field of art technology and art sciences, with a particular attention to the specific domains of digital creation, interactive media design, and architecture. Over the 2 days, today and tomorrow, we are exploring how artists and designers make sense of our changing world and imagine possible futures. Today, these artists will explore new mediums, and tomorrow we will showcase how we have redefined collaboration. This project supports our organizational mission to empower next generation innovators to make the changes we want to see in the world. And the arts provide a critical and imaginative lens to view, experience, and understand our changing society and shed light on possible futures. And with this, I will hand over to Mary Ellen, the project lead, who will moderate the sessions. Thank you for coming. And Mary Ellen, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Joya. Greetings from the lovely Swissnex at Pier 17 in San Francisco. I'm Mary Ellen Johnson, the host of today's program. Thanks for coming. In 2020, as we all know, the world changed. Swissnex, like so many other organizations, needed to reconsider how to continue to support partners and stakeholders, both in Switzerland and the US during the pandemic. How to continue the work of connecting Swiss and US networks and create opportunities for Swiss creatives. For artists in particular, the question of how to transition from physical exhibitions and public programs to online formats was urgent. Many interesting platforms have been developed since last summer, but from the beginning, Zoom became the norm and has remained the dominant format. Throughout the pandemic, the entire world speculated when and if the world would reopen. It opened in fits and starts, new announcements constantly. Our hopes were raised, extinguished, plans changed and adapted constantly. And none of it in agreement with our neighboring state or country. Lots of complex things to adapt to. We humans are adaptable creatures. And that's where we decided to stake our claim in working with the artist on an artist call that embraced adaptability and flexibility. We invited creatives to consider all these potential mutations in their projects. Today and tomorrow, together with the artists, we're going to present the research and outcomes of 8 projects that answered the Swissnex artist call. Beyond 2020, a post-pandemic project asked the artists to consider how the pandemic altered their practice. How was it working and collaborating under pandemic conditions? How did the lockdown impact how you collaborated, the mediums you worked with? How were you able to financially support yourself? So really, when we talk about the post-pandemic, it's a constantly active and evolving condition. We talk about hybrid, we talk about digital, we talk about online, in person, but there still is this speculative end. The call asked artists to reflect in any way that they wished. There were proposals around research, artworks, videos, performance, but they all shared the common thread of how do artistic mediums shift, a reflection of how their practice and how mediums shifted, and how collaborative processes changed. This is what is truly at the heart of this artist call and the festival. With this flexibility and adaptability in mind, we have projects at different stages, some that are just kicking off in a research mode, while others are completed reflections. Completed, I'll put that in quotes, that are reflections of our post-pandemic world. So for today, day one of the festival, we'll learn about 4 projects and consider how artists explored new mediums, how their tools changed. What role did exhibition opportunities have in shaping shifts in their practice, if at all? And tomorrow, our focus is on collaboration, how that was redefined. So we'll start by spending 20 minutes with each project, with each artist or artist group, and then we'll come together for the last half hour for a discussion. We welcome you to submit questions in the Q&A function throughout the program, and we'll answer those ongoing. So please feel free to ask questions specific to a project or an artist group, and of course, in the final discussion. I urge you, invite you, welcome you to look at the event page after today and tomorrow, and to click on the links to see the projects in their full mode. So let's get started. Our first project we'll talk about today is Crush Pad Lava, a video, 2-channel video by Johanna Bruckner. So we'll invite you, Johanna, to the stage. Johanna Bruckner, I'll do a little intro for you here, is an internationally exhibited artist based in Switzerland. Her work is related to ideas of networks and ecologies of trust and care, with an emphasis on imagination as a central instrument for exploring new temporalities. She conceives of the hybridization of the non-human and human as a starting point for the indeterminacy and queerness of being. Bruckner is currently a fellow at the Jan van Eyck Academy and has shown and taught extensively and has received multiple prizes along the way. So welcome, Johanna. Thanks for being here today and for sharing your, for participating in our project. We'll have you start with your intro video.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you very much for this introduction, Mary. And I'm going to share my screen.
Thank you for that intro video. So, Johanna, maybe we could just quickly talk about where you started with this video when considering the artist call, for example. Maybe you could talk a little bit how it started maybe without the artist call, but how it evolved into this 2-channel installation that we have online, in compare to it also being on a live installation right now.
Yeah, of course, there are many aspects I could share with you at the moment, because I usually work with performers live. And of course, the pandemic didn't allow me to, at certain points, to rehearse with performers because, yeah, it's different circumstances and you can't so easily interact. And I'm actually very interested in the space that happens between the performers. So there's transitional languages, these affective languages, those forces that you can actually don't name or don't put languages into, or like they don't turn so easily into languages. So I'm really interested in the transcorporeal, so to say. So actually those forces that go beyond the body. So in this way, I also conceived a non-human, not just in terms of technological instruments that are more and more determining our worlds, but more actually that which reaches out into space, like that which reaches into the virtual, where we don't have, which actually questions the limits of the human boundaries that it has been legitimized since centuries. So yeah, I'm interested in those organisms, in those ecologies of organisms that are developing from myself working with the performers in poetic constellations, and those languages that I create from bottom up, like together when I'm in bodily language with the performers, that actually shape those movements that articulate the piece in the end. And of course, I research a lot, but always, it's actually like the aesthetics is very important for me. So the immersive, so actually audience being sucked into the entanglement between sound, space elements within the space, but also now in the virtual. So as I play a lot with how you can actually go beyond the screen. So the screen comes to you, and the screen becomes polymorphous in its end itself. So also recently I've been playing a lot how install it, and like even objects coming just more transcorporeal in itself. And yeah, I mean, it has a long history also because I've been working on atmospheric escape. Actually gas is escaping into outer space and forming extracorporeal bodies. And while merging with the technological waste through to sort of making outer space more habitable. But now I've been more interested in actually the failed data in net pornography, because now, during the pandemic, we are so much into the cyberspace, and I've become interested in sort of cyber struggles, and also how we approach intimacy and how we approach body and ourselves, because we have bodies, but what does it mean in the cyberspace, and how do we also resist, and what are the means of resistance in cyberspace, and what role plays technology in that. So I articulate I understand net pornography as the mergence between sensation, labor, and technology in the internet, and how certain initiatives make use of new ways of resistance. And at the same time, in this piece, I investigate those data that, in this net pornography, you see actually failed data, or data that are non-existence, or that actually crack through the that are not usable or not being used by certain porn sites that are out of the commercialization understanding. And I try to aggregate this data and sort of form new corporealities that speak for themselves, but without language. The language comes while they are just collapsing and exploding within the image as poetic bodies in itself. And material symbiotic assemblages of cybernetic rupture, and trying to find existence in the spaces of non-existence.
Yeah, it really does. It's interesting watching the video, because at first, it's instantly recognizable in the internet, the net porn aspects of it, but then they're overtaken by these beautiful creatures, sea creatures and shapes. And so it's very much two different ways of viewing, right? Two different ways, there's and how we participate as spectators in dismantling how how we consume pornography. Is
Mm.
how do those, so I have a couple of questions about the creatures for, you know, the seahorse creatures, how you chose those shapes, that's, you know, like and the way the body sort of moves of the sea creatures. Like, how do you think that disrupts the more sort of, I don't know if vulgar is the right word, but the, you know, the traditional pornography, like how does it sort of dismantle it, do you think?
Yeah, so in a way, I was interested in scaling because, as I said, I wanted to go beyond the representation of the human, as it has been also put upon limits on humanity, on the concept of humanity. And that's why I've been really exploring the bodily or like material of beings, be it animal, more as a raw material, like as meat. As so I've been scaling in a lot and see the micro agencies of the meat, so to say. So like the agencies within matter itself. So I'm here interested. Quite influenced by feminist perspective on quantum physics, where matter is coming into being through self-touch and through actually only experiencing it in itself and on the molecular level. And so this concept influenced me a lot in like also reaching out and having the experience that usually what technology does with us, so multiplying ourselves and being connected to abstract ways, like reaches out and also reoccupying what affective languages does affect technology. So we can also reoccupy the affect, because there's so much potential of resistance in the affection itself, because it's directionless, it's never the same, it's never repeatable. And in these creatures, like I've also worked in my past works, like for example in the molecular sex work, I've used a brittle star. Here now I'm using the seahorse, and these are all examples of actually of creatures where scientists say these are, they blur the boundaries between technology and being. For example, more or less in the brittle star piece, for example, they consist of millions of micro lenses and make shape of the world or understand the world only by making images, and don't have a brain, but they are just grasp the world in while being of the world. So they're not put into, but they're only in its dynamic specificities while being in ecology with all the others, with everything that is out there, like as being a virtual being that melts with the environment. And also in that sense, it's a queer animal, because it clearly reproduces itself beyond gender boundaries, like beyond having sex in a more like how you reproduce in certain ways, at least today, but in a kind of more normative ways. But like the seahorse is a similar, it has also characteristics that are similar to the brittle star. But I'm trying to, when I use this net porn, I'm really interested in a more quantum sexual realm of affinities. It's not so much about about representing porn, but like taking porn to another level in terms of like opening up space of imagination, of connectivities, affinities that move us beyond beyond just a linear way of interacting and connecting, but they're more in the quantum physical realm, where we go beyond oppressive binary regimes, where we leave categorizations that 0 and 1. So we just step out and find new ways of how we're entangled today. And I think a certain feminist approach in quantum physics can really help us understanding certain new ways of thinking.
Mm-hmm. So when you and I talked at the beginning about this project, you mentioned from the beginning you were going to do, because you couldn't collaborate with performers as much, that you were going to work more along the lines of animation. But it's still, there's still a representation of performance and bodies very much in those sea creatures. And I wondered, did you find, I mean, the nitty gritty of creating the piece was it on your own in the studio, where you got found materials? Like did you work with an animator and a composer? And how was that evolving?
I do. I'm in touch also with those. There are certain porn initiatives who also question the access, distribution, and access, distribution, and production of porn, so they have their own initiatives and also see porn as a way of agency or empowerment. So they are in hand of they edit themselves, so they don't have this more like one is to determining what is to do and what to say. But I find it very interesting, like how the cyber struggles come together by also questioning, I mean, being themselves as artists. And I've been working with them, but in a digital way. But also I continue the project, and now I'm more in touch again with humans, because we need ourselves, we need our bodies, because we have them, and it's a tool for claiming things, for standing in for things, and for having an opinion. So I think it's really important to go out, also still to go to the streets and have a body and collectivize, of course, all the time, and be it in cyberspace or be it in real. It's at some point, it's ways of agencies merge together by different means and mediums. And so, of course, I haven't been outside, of course, of representation and language. I'm very aware of that, even though I'm playing with scale and I'm playing with the micro agencies of the bodily material. But of course, these creators have scale, but at the same time, I wanted to highlight, that we need bodies, and we need also to rethink who we are and go beyond bodily conceptions. And so, like this technology, it merges with the body. Because I'm interested in transcorporeal, as I said, and how we find means of working and being together in different ways. So
Mm-hmm. I'm curious too, as I mentioned before, I know this is it's being shown in the installation, as an installation and two-screen setup in a physical space. If I'm curious, how would this piece, do you think, or your work or research around this evolve if we were to be closed for another year? Do you think, can you imagine what it would be next? Like, is it a question of tools? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I'm putting it online on YouTube, because it's also interesting if this kind of porn that I create circulates as its own fetish in there, and it will have audience. I mean, I think it's super interesting for me to see how it develops, like what kind of porn it is, and how the responses are. It's also actually been part of the concept to put it online again. So in that sense, it's its own way, it's its own medium, so it found its exhibition space. And also I do believe a lot still having art in art spaces, and having the way that the art speaks so much or triggers structures of imagination, of new thinking structures. So it opens spaces of thinking and making you an opinion in terms of like what technology does with us, how it transforms our worlds, but like also what is not represented in media. So that's also why I play so much with actually what can technology give us, but in a very critical way, because we always have to ask by whom and for whom. And in that sense, I think it's very important. It's also in an exhibition space that diverse audiences can encounter it, and through the scenarios that are set up, because for me the work spatially is very important, that this like it triggers thinking structures and probably opinion making processes.
Well, thank you so much. We'll see you again in about an hour.
Okay. Thank you.
So next we will hear from Manuelita Antonio and Nico Brühlmann about their project, Spheres of Privilege. Manuelita studied architecture at the University of the Andes in Venezuela and English at the University of Melbourne. In 2016, she opened her studio Superworks. Since 2017, she also coordinated the One Plus program at Public Architecture. Her passions include, but aren't limited to, poetry, swimming, absurd machines, I like that one, motherhood, the future, philosophy, social justice, and the common good. Nico Brühlmann is a freelance artist based in Bern. His work forms on progressive web code and digital design techniques, using these tools for building impactful projects, most notably within the SuperWorks community. Situated in visual arts, he likes to create and think in pictures, and every now and then goes on sonic journeys for the love of radio. Nico currently works under the alias Mindshaped. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here today. And I will let you share your project, your intro video.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Thank you, Swissnex, for having us.
I'm going to share the video in a second.
And I think it's important to mention this video was made as a way to introduce our app, which you can all explore later or simultaneously at spheresofprivilege.com. But first, let's take a look at the video so we can all get on the mode of talking about privilege.
Okay, I'll start it.
Give 3 words that you associate with the word privilege.
Money, gender, and social background.
Freiheit, Bildung und Gesundheit. First thing that comes on my mind, white.
Nature.
Generation. Krankenkasse. Rich and poor, I guess.
Can you remember at around what age and moment of your life you were first confronted with the topic of privilege?
I don't know, 8 maybe? Yeah. When others go on holidays and you don't? Yeah.
At around 23, I guess.
At the age of 6 or 7?
J'avais l'âge de 10 ans.
When I was 5 years old.
Je pense que c'était autour de 16-18 ans quand j'ai commencé à entendre ce qui se passe en Afrique du Sud avec l'apartheid. Ouais, je me suis rendu compte que j'ai vraiment beaucoup de chance d'être née dans un pays où je suis libre, où je peux étudier comme je veux, où je peux vivre comme je veux, où je peux réaliser mes rêves.
Around 11 years old.
I think 5 years. C'était au moment d'aller au collège, où quand j'avais réussi les examens d'État, mais je n'avais pas le droit d'accéder à ces études-là, parce que je n'étais pas de la bonne ethnie.
Est-ce que la thématique du privilège, c'est un sujet dont tu parles avec d'autres personnes?
I talk sometimes with my friends after parties around the table, and we're talking about maybe racism.
Yes, first it started in a feminism context with girls and non-binary people that live in a completely different world.
No.
Actually, not really. I never had a real conversation about privilege. Sometimes I wanted to talk about that with my friends, but I never find the space to talk about it, I think.
Oui, je parle souvent parce que ici en Suisse, les gens sont privilégiés. L'association d'espace femmes
Il y a les femmes qui viennent d'ici, d'ailleurs, voilà. Et puis ces femmes, ils ont besoin d'être aidées, d'être soutenues. Ils n'ont pas le privilège de parler français aussi. Et puis voilà, on doit les aider à suivre les cours, tout ça. Alors, si on peut faire quelque chose et donner ce qu'on a au moins pour que ces femmes puissent voilà, aller de là-bas.
Ich habe oft Diskussionen über Privilegien, sei es mit Leuten in der Schweiz, jetzt gerade im letzten Jahr mit der Corona-Pandemie, aber auch davor mit Freundinnen und Freunden in Argentinien, wo ich viel zu tun habe mit ihnen, weil ich auch selber dort gelebt habe. Sonst bin ich schon viel reisen und immer wieder trifft man halt auch sehr privilegierte Leute, gerade wenn man in anderen Ländern ist. Und ja, dann so im Austausch und auch im Austausch mit den Leuten vor Ort ist das schon ein grosses Thema.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that introductory video. I think maybe a great place to start, if you agree, is just the origin, the idea of the project, that where that came from at the time that it did, which was last summer, when the proposal came out. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, with the pandemic, it became obvious that the less privileged people was going to suffer the worst consequences of it, as always is the case. So Nico and I started talking about the subject, always being in our mind. We were being preoccupied with what was going to happen. I mean, we were both safe at home, working from home. For us, work didn't change as much because we have always worked in the digital realm. And if anything, we probably got more work than anticipated because everyone needed to jump into the digital platforms. But for people less privileged, it was a concern. People was losing jobs, the economy closing. So that's where a lot of these conversations on privilege came about. And when Nico mentioned that there was an opportunity to do this with Swissnex, we immediately took over to devise a concept that will serve the purpose of becoming aware of it. That's the hypothesis of this experiment, is that by starting the conversation, we can between ourselves and hopefully all the people that come in contact with the work just start become aware of our own privilege or lack of, and that way just try to get the myths that surround how far we can get in life and the work that we do and how well we do with our work, because a lot of what we get is yes, a lot of it is our work, and for people that study without privilege, definitely most of it is their work. But a lot had to do with how we started in life, what kind of family we were born into it, what country we were born into it, and then a lot of luck, what career you chose as a young adult, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it also, yesterday was the anniversary of the murder of George Floyd, and that also is something that came to my mind, actually, when your proposal came in. Very much. Indeed. Very much so, yeah.
I think it
Indeed.
was, sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
go on.
Nico.
Actually, I just want to say it was exactly these two sides which started the idea. Like on one hand, the pandemic and the changes of for a lot of people's lives. And on the other hand, it was also a time where a lot of like activist movements were becoming more visible in the news or in the streets in our own cities. And it was kind of like the time to find out like which tools that we use on a daily basis during work or in our free time, and which of these tools we can use to take on some of that responsibility and make something out of it. And I guess that was kind of where the idea kickstarted last summer.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm thinking also reflecting on the conversations we've had, over the past year and how the project has evolved. And in the thinking about, how to talk about privilege and what this tool, what the survey tool does, how does it operate, this repository of surveys. How do you think that, how does it impact people, or how and why did you choose the questions, the survey format, and how did that evolve from what you thought it would be last summer? How did that happen?
Okay, so maybe I can talk a little about the evolution of the project, because from the initial idea to what it ended up being, it was completely different. At first, Nico and I imagined something very quantitative. We wanted to measure privilege in a way and compare to different sociological studies of people in different countries and so on. And then as we formed a team, which was a very interesting part of the evolution of the project. You start a project like this, and then people that is interested in the same thing start giving you ideas and apporting to the conversation, and so they become part of your team and very active part of the conversation and part of the ideas and the concept of the project. And so that was how we changed the approach from a quantitative study on privilege to a more subjective, qualitative way of doing things, because we thought we realized that the subject of privilege is very relative. It's very intimate. It is taboo for many people, and we all have very different perspectives on it. So we thought that by sharing these different perspectives, we could, that was the way to become more aware of it, rather than give you some numbers and or a position where you are relative to everyone else, which could be helpful, and other people had done it and it was a good part of the research, but we wanted to make it more intimate and more relational. And so that's why when you complete the questionnaire, or as you complete it, you are prompt to see other people's answers to it. And that was part of the evolution. And I think also for me, it evolved as we worked on it. The personal experience of understanding privilege in America. I'm an immigrant here, a second-time immigrant, and so for me it was a great experience to understand the privilege in America is different to where I come from. It's related to caste, it's related to race, very much so, more so than in other places that I have left, and definitely where I was born. So, yeah. Nico, what was your thoughts on the evolution of this project?
Yeah, I think we were at the point, I think in the middle or towards the end of last year, where we just found out that like this whole thing, trying to measure privilege or trying to like get numbers out of people just simply doesn't work. Like on one hand, it doesn't work because you cannot compare really everything across borders. And on the other hand, we also found out talking to people that things can, like we don't want to make somebody uncomfortable answering the survey, but we still want to enable them to share thoughts or raise voices, but not to give, not to make people that are less or underprivileged like responsible for speaking up or for changing something, but to have like this space where it can be shared and where it can influence other ideas. So I think we got really away from that basic approach of a survey with calculations to one that asks questions and just gives space for free answers. And I think that really changed a lot early this year when we also started new collaborations, and we started working together with a new person, and that was Larissa, and she kind of came up with new ideas about like which questions to ask and asking them in what way that is kind of consensual but still leave space to explore a bit. And yeah, I think we needed that whole last year to realize what is not working and then produce something that is working in a really short amount of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of complexity too in gathering data, right? And like how you gather it, what you do with it, what claims you might make with the data. And I know we discussed at one point early on, we were very ambitious about having many partners, both in the Bay Area and Switzerland, and how to reach all of these audiences, people from different parts, different parts of the world, different levels of privilege, I guess. And what do you see? Well, actually, my first question, I did the survey, and I was curious about, so the quotes that then come up where it says, would you like to see the answer to other participants, which I really liked, by the way. So is it, as people enter that's just like random, that you'll see random responses? Because they were like, how do you control that or not control that? How do you let a survey live, and how does that data work? And we only have 1 minute left. I have to say, I've asked a bit.
Okay, maybe I'll take this one over and quickly explain the technical part of it. It basically takes the whole pot of answers that are already stored while you're typing each question. So, and it takes all of them, but then picks 3 specific ones randomly. And until now, it being an experiment, it's really completely random and not based on any data or contents of those answers. So you just get what is already stored in these spheres in the end.
Yes, just what other participants have said. And before we close, I just want to say something that women said at the beginning that I think is important to understand the project, and is that part of why we veer this way, it was our own assumptions and our own privilege thinking what a project of privilege should be about, and realizing that we needed to make it, when we talked to Larissa and other people, that we needed to make it a safe space. Safety is also a privilege that we usually take for granted. And now with the era of the internet, I think that's something that is important to mention. So yeah, it was important for us to make it completely consensual. Also asking, would you like to see other answers? That was important too. There might be people that it feels too overwhelmed to see this and might come back at a later time to explore that. So yeah, we just wanted to give a space to everybody to talk about this very, very delicate subject. So.
And one more question I'm going to ask. I'm in charge of time, so I can do this, I guess. What's next for the project?
That's a good one. Yeah, actually, we've been thinking to explore more ideas with it and also maybe transform it into physical spaces now where like galleries and other forums are reopening. But yeah, I guess we'll be working on that in the next few weeks or months ahead.
We definitely see an evolution of this. I mean, it feels with all this work that we just have scratched the surface of this subject. So we'll keep on exploring more about privilege and all it involves.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your project with us. And we will see you in a few minutes at the end of our individual discussion. So see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Thanks. And now I welcome Real Madrid and their animated video produced in collaboration with Naro, Fuzzy Dice. Hi guys. I'll do a quick little bio read of you. Real Madrid, founded in Geneva in 2015, examines social constructions and sexual development with a focus recently on STDs. Their name, taken from a famous football team, manifests as interest in mass miscommunication, while turning problematic the distribution and indexing of images on any search engine. You've exhibited internationally. You have upcoming shows at the ICA in Milan, and in the Center for Contemporary Art in Geneva and the Swiss Institute in New York in 2022. And for those Americans in the audience, perhaps who don't know, Real Madrid is a football/soccer team from Spain, in Spain. Most people know that now, I think. So welcome, both of you. Thanks so much for being here today. Let's get started with your intro video.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mary-Ellen, and also Swissnex. Yeah, we're gonna show the short video, and then, yeah, let's see.
Fuzzy Dice is an animated work done in collaboration with visual designer Naro. The video, produced specifically for this festival, follows a psychedelic narrative and produces a consequential imagery about time and addictive behaviors, non-productivity and stigmas. Fuzzy Dice starts with the clock slowly striking, getting high, reverting its dimension. We see its arms traveling and evolving into different scenarios, integrating into other worlds in a crescendo of absurdity structured by rhythmic sound. In this work of animated landscapes, we use visual storytelling, emancipated by a strict sense of a logic nor coherent storyboard. We want this piece to become a detour into the curls of time, a fall into a vertiginous cruising afternoon.
All right. Great. Thanks so much for the intro video. I think actually we should just have you guys play the whole video. It's short enough. Should we start out with that?
Yeah, it makes sense actually. It's just 5 minutes, so if you're all up to see it, maybe it's funnier.
I think we should go for it.
All right. I should be black. You see it black?
Yep.
Wait, it's not right. Do you see it?
It's black.
It's black.
We just see black.
Yeah, just a sec. Of course.
We could try one. Should we try one more?
Yeah,
one more time. If it doesn't work, we'll just.
Yeah. of course, these things happens all the time.
It's the magic of technology creeping.
No, I cannot even read it. I don't know why. No, it doesn't open. But well, no, we're gonna see the video on the web page probably.
Yes, so everyone will have to, for all the projects, but now especially anticipating the video, check it out on the website afterwards. Yeah, so we could just talk about it a little bit. How about just first, the video. So the video, it has, in terms of subject, let's talk about subject first, and how time moves, and there's obviously time is a big motif, as you can see with the clock in there. How do you, why time during the pandemic? Why drugs? Why time? Why psychedelia? Maybe start a little bit about how you came up with this theme for why you created this video and how it reflects the pandemic. If it does.
I mean, I think that also like the first thing is sort of like the first time that we work with this medium, with a video. So, and I think it was like really, so we decided to have this collaboration with this visual designer. And actually when when we answered like to this call, or like when we heard about this call, and we were in this residency in Italy, in Rome, and the Swiss Institute there. So in a way, I don't know, I think that the first thing that you notice like during this pandemic time is like there's sort of like this indoor time. It maybe has another rhythm, or like maybe there is like a sort of a difference between like being busy and still like being a very domestic place in a way. And yeah, I'm not sure, but I think like it came sort of naturally. It was also like a very special time what we had. Again, like the word time, what we had like last year. Also, like we are two, and we were sort of like separated into different cities because we were both in residency in Rome, but Bianca was like actually stuck in Naples, and actually also Johanna Bruckner, that is also like here in the panel, she was there as well.
But this is not something new for us to like work remote, because I don't know, we always have like our collaboration started in the moment that I went to Geneva. So we are really used to have this this connection in like, I don't know, in kind of nowhere, like. So it was like, I don't know, in terms for how we work in our collaboration, this didn't change like drastically. Like we didn't miss being in the atelier or like being like real life together. But yeah, as Marco said, it changed. Like, I mean, we were kind of pushed in a very good way to like have this medium of animation, which I think we really liked working with. Also, like normally we are used to like make objects that don't move in space and time. So I think this animation process was really, in a way, teaching us about time and how to kind of like control it inside this little space of animation. And also, of course, time was being totally taking into a new light, having it like, everything stopped and suddenly it was really, I don't know, kind of quiet.
Yeah, and you, sorry, go on. Yeah.
And I would say that also like at the same time, we were like sort of working in this exhibition that opened like a couple of weeks ago in Paris at the Centre Culturel Suisse, and the whole show was sort of like a bar situation. It was called Posterior Story. It was like talking about like this narrative of also of addiction, and a lot of drug use in a way, but also like in a very sort of not domestic, but like sort of like a bar situation, taken from a narrative, from a short tale, actually about some specific scenario very present in this narration. Yeah. So that's why maybe also like there was like this things boiling.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, the pace of the video, for one thing, because, you know, it does have this sort of lackadaisical sort of like you're high, you're, you know, floating through this space, which, you know, is also like the pandemic. You know, we think about like there's a lot of talk about the trauma of, and like you said, about how time passes or doesn't pass, where, you know, and being at home, and it feels like a very sort of internal video. I mean, the psychedelia and the, you know, but there's also, I was also thinking, in the video, there's also the landscapes are also interesting because they're kind of end of the world, but, you know, there's flowers coming out of, you know, next to kind of a seemingly dead tree, and there's cupids, you know, there's like optimism, but also darkness. And maybe a person could say that's also about, you know, what drugs propose, escape utopia. Yeah, that's kind of just me thinking.
No, I mean, it's right. It's actually also like a very different change of like social priority. I mean, most of our work, I mean, at least like part of our work, there is like a sort of a topic of I don't know if like non-productivity or like changing like sort of like the priority of living within society in a way. And that's sort of something that has been like always there in the last 2, 3, 4 years actually of our work. So in a way, and as well, like this big topic of like STDs and in general, of course, but in some cases, in some installation, there has been like a specific point of view towards like AIDS, HIV and AIDS, but so in a way, sort of like this thing of like addiction and as well like this marginalized situation of certain human beings is sort of like came naturally. I think that my videos like maybe it might play right now, so maybe, I mean, we can
Yeah, let's try it. Third time the charm.
Great. Is it there?
All right, great. I just love those happy bears, you know? They make me happy. Those happy bears preoccupied by time.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, I also, gosh, I feel maybe I shouldn't talk about the clock. You know, the clock is a little bit menacing, right? It's like, or is it, I'm curious about, the reason I'm hesitant to talk about a clock is I always want to relate it, maybe as an American who knows a lot of Swiss people, to something Swiss in particular. But that the clock is shooting the drugs into the sky, and yeah. Anything about that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we were, as Marco said before, in our exhibition in Paris, we were talking about this kind of bar that exists in the periphery of a city. Maybe it's like a bar that's like in a station in between that you go only because you have to change train, like you would never stop really there. So we talked a little about this place, and that's what why the arms of the clock, they change into like darts, and then there is like this Diana, and then the Diana, like the darts, they change into like syringes. And I don't know, like somehow in our imaginary of the exhibition and the way we wanted to talk about addiction, it was somehow to of course to avoid stigmatization and to like find I don't know, our own point of view from our practice. We connected it to like the image of the Cupid, to say that it's kind of like a love story in a way, right? It's like the effects of like addiction are pretty similar to like when you are crazy mad in love. So we thought about using the figure of the Cupid, and of course the Cupid has also like a file that he's shooting, like an arrow. So we kind of like made the connection through these pointed things that like transform, and at the same time, like, yeah, you shoot the syringe and like, yeah.
So subvert an order in a way, and also, I don't know, as Bianca say, like this station in a way, like there is this clock of this station of this train that you should catch, but you're never there basically. Like you just sort of like, I mean, there is like sort of like this stranded situation in this like in between station in a way, in this bar. Maybe there is it's I don't know, there is like a lot of maybe also like narrative and imagination, which I think is more that than like to giving like a real role to like every element in the video. It's, yeah, I think it's a trip, and even when like trying to rationalize, I think it's nice if it remains like this sort of like very rationalized trippy view, vision of it, I think.
Yes, that's why also we included these little excerpts of this other video that is actually not animated.
Yeah.
Because is somebody just emptying an extinguisher, and the rhythm of the sound is what gives the whole animation. It's like the time that exists inside the animation in a way. It's given by just this extinguisher just being emptied and being completely useless at the end.
Yeah.
And there is sort of this loop, I mean, in a way, because like you see appear sort of like the extinguisher appears also in the animated, and then there is a couple of references to former works of art in a way like sort of like this big umbrella, and also like this these bears, like these blood cells, are also sort of like a little reference to something that we shown some years ago. And as well, like this video is a video that we did, I think like 6 or 7 years ago or something, and stayed on our drive. In a way, it was like in a rave in London, and it's something that is it's there. It's like this situation that in a way it will pop up in time. I mean, I don't know, you have something on your hard drive, and then it's nice to put it like, and to make it re-emerge, and yeah, give it like this new, like push it into the loop.
Yeah.
Because that's how also we work, because of course we shared space between each other. So we have this like kind of container full of these ideas that we have exchanged over the years. And yeah, we kind of just
yeah. Is it on view also in Paris in your show at CCS?
This video, no.
No, okay.
But you will see there is actually a parasol in the video.
Yeah.
And then you will see it in real life if you happen to be in Paris, actually.
Okay, yeah, I saw them in the installation views.
Yeah, okay, right. Yeah.
All right. Oh, sorry, am I?
No.
Yeah. So we will see you guys in a few minutes when you join us again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now I welcome Laura Couto Rosado. Hi there.
Hi, Marilyn.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too, and all the participants.
Yeah. So Laura, I'm going to say a quick bio for yourself about you. Laura Couto Rosado is a product and interaction designer based in Geneva. Her hybrid practice at the crossroads of multiple disciplines pushes the boundaries of design to explore ecological imaginaries and confront societal issues. You have a degree in product design from ISDAT in France, and a master in media design from Head in Geneva. And you won the Prize of Excellence from the Hans Wildorf Foundation, and many, many, many more wonderful things to say about you. So welcome. Please introduce to us your project, Mission Blue Butterfly Ghost Noise.
Sure. So let's start. Could you see the video?
It appears to be frozen. Do you want to try again?
Sorry, I stopped the video. Do you see the screen share?
Yes, I can see, but it's frozen. It's stuck on the word beyond.
Okay. So maybe I can try again?
Yep, try again.
Okay. Okay, second. Here?
Yes, it's working. Yes.
Good.
When the global shutdown began, everything in the human world suddenly came to a halt. Naturally, I was more active on social media. I tried to find a way to hijack these digital tools at the height of anthropocentrism. I developed these two social media effects around the Mission Blue butterfly, an endangered species of butterfly that can only be found in San Francisco Bay. With the MBB ghost noise effect, this is the first time that I have shown the result of the combination of drums, shamanism, and design practice.
Thanks, Laura. So maybe we'll just start talking about how the project evolved and
sorry.
Oh, can you hear me? Oh, it's still playing.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. It starts again. You know,
that's okay.
Technology sometimes is
it's always something.
Magic. Sorry.
No worries. Is it off? There we go. Yeah, so I was just thinking how this project it's stayed quite true to what you initially proposed. The social media filter project on endangered species in the Bay Area.
Yes, the project evolved in time. So I mean, it takes more time than that I expected because I needed first to really master in some way this technology I wanted to explore more. Because remember, we were in the context of the pandemic and the shutdown. So we were just most of us at home, not really going out, everything was cancelled. So it was kind of, everything stopped. So I was more active on social media. I discovered, you know, this AR effect that you can even create by yourself thanks to the application, free download application. So I start, you know, to play with that, you know, during the pandemic. And also I needed to master it a little bit. And then also I realized that the context of the use of this AR tools are a bit special because we are in the social media context. So, I mean, it is not the right place maybe to share a deep and meaningful message, in this case about the global ecological crisis. So I needed also to find ways and to explore more through these filters and the technology, how I can finally share and make this message more obvious through the creation of the effects. So this combination of these elements pushed me to explore the project in the timeline. And also the fact that I was able to, I had the great opportunity to meet scientists during the process. It also pushes me, you know, to really go and try things through the sketches that you saw in the first part of the video, in order to at the end be really sure about the result I wanted to publish on the Instagram account. So the three elements: the discussion with the scientists that helped me to understand what happened, you know, to the mission Blue Butterfly in San Francisco, the fact that it is an endangered species, and and this very near future extinction is caused by our human activity, and also mastering this AR digital tool, and trying to put together all these things, lead me to a longer timeline process.
Yeah. It's interesting. Your collaborative process, I think, was extremely rich in the sense that you worked actually with UC Berkeley with their program and students. You led a workshop with them and developed, even played on that with the tool, learned more about the tool with them. Who are some of them? Maybe you could speak a little bit about how you got your research. And because I know when you started, there were many different endangered species you were looking at.
Yes, exactly.
How did your research and collaboration with these universities and people shape your choice of the butterfly and what it became?
What makes in this case, the Mission Blue butterfly so special compared to other species I can work with as well, is that the Mission Blue butterfly is the only species that you can find in San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, you will not be able to see a Mission Blue butterfly anywhere on the globe, somewhere else. It is an indigenous species that is now on the way to disappearance. And for me, it was very symbolic, and maybe it was the point of the project is to talk about located as we are collaborating together. I'm working and creating something related to San Francisco. It was strong for me to work with the Mission Blue butterfly because this is the only piece you can find in this area. So that's why I in this during the different discussion I finally selected and choose to work exclusively with the Mission Blue butterfly because it was enough to talk about the core of the subject. The fact that Mission Blue butterfly is a species that is native from San Francisco, and because of the human activity, the pollution, and the fact that we as human beings, we are a species that is a really great invader and also destroying other species habitat, is causing the extinction of the Mission Blue butterfly right now. And also the fact that we don't see directly the causes of the death, the extinction of this species, because it has no use for them. It's just a butterfly. It is not, you cannot make money with that. We cannot use it as a resources. You cannot, I don't know, use a butterfly to make you richer or wealthier or more popular. So yeah, this is like that.
Yeah, in fact, the butterfly doesn't drive tourism. Even just thinking about the butterfly compared to, I know you were looking at some seal populations at one point, but they were further south than San Francisco. But yeah, butterflies are up in the air and not driving economies, maybe.
Yes.
How did you incorporate the research into the actual filter? Were there interpreting, using tools to interpret some of the things that you learned about it?
Yes, actually, I will just after share the screen again, how it will work to show the QR code for you to take a screenshot, to scan directly with your smartphone, to help you to see the effect directly. So it is a glitchy noise effect, okay? And I used the scientific content, like mostly the pictures. I had a discussion with the researcher Stu Weiss, who is observing and making some research about the extinction of the endangered Mission blue butterfly on site, and he's taking pictures in order to see how the species is evolving or not succeeding in growing, etc., etc. So I was allowed to use this scientific content like pictures used in research and articles and reports. And I of course edited it, but I use it directly to create this glitch and noisy effect that distorted the face on the filter. So I mean, the core is the scientific content is the content, the element I use directly in the process, the technical process to create this glitch and noisy effect. So this is how I use the scientific content in this case in the project for the visual effect. Yeah.
I see that in the Q&A I've been corrected that butterflies are in fact influencing tech. It's a comment by Dan, actually, one of your collaborators at UC Berkeley. And
yes.
So thank you for that correction, Dan. I'll have to dig into that.
Yeah, so I wanted to say about the fact that during this opportunity I had to talk about with scientists, I really also realized that it's a fact that we have endangered species right now in the whole worldwide in real danger, and it is a critical point, with the global ecological crisis. But we know that it's a fact. We have many articles, many scientists working on that. We have data, we have reports, we have everything. And I realized that maybe it is not enough. Maybe science is not enough. It's nice, it's important, but human being is not a rational species, and that's why at the end I finally showed that we can implement something, or I wanted to go with this project beyond, or trying also in my position to understand why we are so hopeless in this situation, So, and maybe I find the answer, and maybe it's related to the loss somehow of the sacrality of nature we had before. That's why I implement this shamanic input in the video, because it's also a practice I have, but usually I don't show explicitly my shamanic practice on my creative process, because it is more in the background, But here, it was like a coming out, It's obvious, we need to put together the more, elements in order to raise more consciousness about that. And science is perfect, but it's not enough. We know that. So maybe it's to go to try to regain our sacred relation with nature. Can help us to rebalance, this balance we have between species on the planet right now. Yeah.
So really, the filter is a tool to reach people in a different way, to connect with nature and think about these endangered, well, in this particular case, the butterfly species. Do you see, are there next steps for this filter, or for your research around this, or continuing to raise awareness?
Yes, I will. I'm starting now to work on a different project that is related to an archaic music instrument from the prehistorical, but it is also related to the ecological crisis. And it is also as it is a music instrument, it will an installation at the end for a festival in Geneva. There will be a performance, so it also will be a good environment and good context in order to push these filters beyond, through this next performance that is also telling the same story. I mean, we are in the same context, the same topic about exploring new imaginaries about ecological, trying to reconnect with nature and to have or to invent new relationship with other species, non-human living species. So in this global, sphere of topics, I will definitely continue to work on this digital augmented reality filters, because there are also, I like, the fact that we are between a physical and digital world. I like this hybrid also medium. That's why I'm also product and media designer. It fits perfectly with my with my profile and how I want to work with these different contents.
Mm-hmm.
And so there will be definitely a next step with Mission Blue Butterfly, Noise Glitch, or other effects. But maybe I can share the code now.
Yes,
if you
yeah.
Good.
And everyone, you can capture these codes on your phone. You can also go to the event page afterwards. But yeah, great.
Yeah, sorry. You can see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can, so it's simple. You can just right now make a screenshot to open it after, or you can directly scan it with your smartphone and see the effect on your Instagram account if you have one. So now I would propose, if you are okay with that, is that you after our session, you can make a story. You are free, to use the filter, and you share it, and you can just maybe tell that is about, or anyway, and you can just put my name profile. It will help me to collect your stories and also republish it on the profile, because the idea is also to hijack a little bit the way we use this normally this filter on social media in more curatorial, or in more the idea of a digital project that is hosted in a social media platform that is not usually the best platform to share art or digital design outcomes.
Great. Thank you. And we also just shared to the attendees, you can find the Instagram link there. Yeah, thank you so much, Laura. Thank you for sharing and participating and making this great filter. Thank you also to UC Berkeley out there. I know Dan's out there. Thanks.
Hi, Dan.
So now we'll bring everyone back into the room. And I just want to remind our audience to please put some questions into the Q&A function, and the artists will be happy to answer any questions you have. Are we all back in the same room now? Let's see. Yes. So maybe, one of the sort of key questions that I've asked some of you about how what's next for some of these projects, but actually I'm also, and some of you have also asked this question, I'm curious how creating this new work, experimenting with this, with new mediums impacted what you're going to make moving forward. Because we spend a lot of time talking about, you know, oh, the pandemic's over, we're going to move back to physical installations, and I think really what we're talking about is a hybrid. I know that's thrown around a lot, but we're going to be living in a hybrid existence for quite a long time. And I'm thinking about you, Manuelita and Nico, in particular, for the first instance, how you think this survey, this question, how has it impacted your design work or your practice? Or maybe the question of your practice around social justice as well. For your
well, it's curious that you asked that, because this is our medium. We have worked on digital form for as long as Nico and I have been working together, which is now 8 or 9 years. It's interesting for us to work at this level together, given that we have never been in the same physical space together. So that's something that maybe is different from most people.
I was thinking
Nico
more,
and I and all of our collaborators have been working remote for a decade, so it's kind of.
That's true. I was thinking more about the function of maybe of the survey or data gathering, or how the maybe even the question of privilege in and of itself has impacted.
Well, that's definitely something that I think for us the impact has been being able to explore this subject, having this work to take us to exploring something that we'll otherwise talk as friends but not as collaborators. I think this work has made us go into deeper conversations with our friends and our environments and our collaborators. Yeah, in that sense, I think what is different, or what the impact that this has had, is that we realize that it's an advantage for us to be able to do this work remote. We were planning on Nico to come over and finish the project here together, and obviously that didn't happen. So yeah, for us has been good to know that we have this option as an extension to the work that we have been doing, and we want to keep on exploring it, I think, further.
Yeah, that's true. And leads me to my next question. That we have a question from Julian regarding collaboration, particularly as artists. How you collaborate together? How can I get the words out? How has it changed how you'll move forward in collaborative practices? Do you think there's new opportunities around the learnings from this past year to maybe connect to other publics and other audiences? Maybe not just the gallery goer. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Maybe Johanna? Calling you out.
Yes, I think it's extremely interesting in terms of what new options have arisen, while also always critically embedding our position in these. So like when we do more online, like use platforms like this one, I'm always like a little bit reclaim of how they function, like also reclaim the language and reoccupy the language. So in terms of like intervening with content that actually those moderators wouldn't expect so easily. So I'm always interested in like in challenging or in intervening with the meaning that actually really reaches beyond that which is making value, like in terms of like how this platform should function, like the communalization, but rather speaking of, like, for example, putting in there silence. Now I'm speaking quite radically, but what could these interventions be that sort of interrupt their function, interrupt the way how they shape commons, how they try to produce value from commons. And that science, because Real Madrid talked a lot about time, and I've been very interested. I mean, it's super interesting also, like that time, like also in psychedelia, and time being polymorphous, as I explain it, because I mean, time is also very central in my work, and like it goes in many directions. And this also I show by missing narrative, or by missing a linear way of telling things. So time has actually no end and no beginning. And I think if we use these platforms for, speaking, like actually challenge it, trying to go beyond like time, or try to occupy time in these online spaces. And I think trying to think what this means in artistic ways. And also I think the shamanism project really, I think, is super interesting also, like in terms of sound and recombining visuals and aesthetics. So like challenging our aesthetics and experience by occupying time. So yeah, absolutely. I think there's ways to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for Johanna now that we have you in the stage. I'm gonna, if I may, take this opportunity. You mentioned a lot of interesting things in your talk, and there was one that I was very curious about. I wonder if you could elaborate a little further on the quantum physics of the real world and how you relate that to your work and to empowerment and agency for your community through your work.
Yeah. So yeah, it's complex. And also I think when we began starting with Mary, we've been, actually I wanted to collaborate more with scientists, which has become then more a practice of science fiction, just for several reasons. But because within science fiction, actually my space is larger to challenge the knowledge that is also produced in science and then go beyond the means that are being offered to us. So I try to tell new stories, I try to fabulate, I try to connect different means. And I think quantum physics may provide me these opportunities, but only a special few. And this few, for example, I find in post-humanist takes on quantum physics, but more oriented according to some, let's say, queer feminist positions. Like I mentioned Karen Barat, and actually, it's quite a lot being talked about her at the moment, but also others in her direction. I'm still trying to find ways or approaches that are less universalist, but more particular. But at least still she gave me a lot of how we could grasp how we are situated within our reality. And in terms of actually I really try to question what technology does with us, like how it determines our lives. And within quantum physics, we find a way to escape this. And her approach is that like matter only comes into being by particles touching itself, and only through aesthetic experience of particles within matter, like molecules. And these molecules have agencies by themselves, regardless from their sex. So, but only also because we are there and we shape the world. And in this human object entanglement, or non-human human object entanglement, the world comes into being in its performativity. So she says also in the explosions of space-time mattering. So everything actually is one, but we need the essence of touching and affinities and actually sensations. And I find this very interesting. In terms of like also the affections, because like our technologies like tablets are so only stored with affect, so affective experience, like all the images we have, messages from friends and so on. And at the same time, there also means that these affections break from the addictions, from the routines we have, break from the extractive relationship that dominant systems like capital put onto us. So like the approach from quantum physics helps a lot in escaping and in seeing that there are micro agencies, and we can so like in my work I play a lot, so because like there are a lot of layers, and I work with patterns, like but I redistribute them And like I see that the micro agencies within matter, and these micro agencies are, I say queer, but there are also other words how you can name that. But this queer approach on matter, like being polymorphous, like being responsible. So not is like responsibility just doesn't go in one direction, and she uses also this term responsibility. So you make actually matter to make matter responsive, because whenever you touch something, the touch comes back. And this is very interesting, this making able to respond. And I think we need it so much in these times when we are so much on Zoom and online. We need to respond and still feel our affinities. And so how does it work? But I think this quantum physical approach is an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this, or like reading and trying to get in tune with this new concepts of relating quantum physics to a spirituality, and everything that is being challenged by the science of quantum physics. And I think it's fascinating, and I think as artists we can take a little bit of license. I call it the poetics of quantum physics, because even though the actual quantum physics is really complicated, I think the things that we're learning from it we can apply, and yeah, it could be a little bit of escapism of the things that seem until now to be settled in reality, but quantum physics is challenging. But thanks for answering the question. I think this is a conversation that we should continue somewhere else, but yeah, thanks.
Do any of you have a sort of a follow-up question for each other out there? Otherwise, I'll turn to the Q&A. We have a question. Do you see your role as artists being different beyond 2020? So do you see your role having changed perhaps in this past year? Maybe I'll throw that to Real Madrid.
Change the role, I don't know, but maybe like also like connecting to the former question about collaboration, and as well like about like rethinking about one's own practice. I think it's also like nice to take a little, I mean also like maybe to take a little break and see like what is, I mean, how did production sort of like stops in a way. I mean, doesn't necessarily have to stop, but in a way like also maybe the role as an artist doesn't have to be necessarily like so productive in terms of like fabricating object experiences. And I don't know, before, like while they were talking, it was like thinking about how we reacted to this first like sort of like 2020, and in a way also like and I was thinking just like bit by randomly that most of the things that we did during this first wave of pandemic was like sort of like rethinking like former projects and sort of like trying to order them and to find them a better place maybe within our practice, and also like there was this idea of like being online or not being online. And so at a certain point like we decided like to limit in a way like the online presence. And so that's why like one of the first bigger products about like our first wave of pandemic was like we did like a sort of a pamphlet, a fanzine. But I mean, I don't know if this answers really the question, but it's sort of like maybe just tries to take away the attention of like to really having an aim or a role that is like so defined in a way, like sort of like, okay, an exhibition and an installation, but
yeah, like you learn to like find like new formats, or like new, like before maybe like, I don't know, as visual artists that we do exhibition and installation, it's very clear we have a proposition in a space, it's physical, and we go there and see it. So the process is very clear in a way how we proceed. And I think, yeah, like I don't know if this changed our role, but it changed in a way. Yeah, it moved us a little bit maybe out of our comfort zone in a way. Yeah, to divert the ways of production, and also like to regulate them, or to like really maybe thinking them slower, or giving them more time to brood in the soup.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on that question? I mean, I have to say, I think a lot about productivity as someone who works in an office, you know, not the question of being an artist, but like this whole question of productivity and value and how and where you spend your time and how productivity is gauged. Certainly is something I've spent a lot of time thinking about. We're coming to the end of our time. I think I will just ask each of you if you have a kind of a final thought that you'd like to share, either about your project or about the day, what you're gonna have for dinner. I don't know. We'll start with you, Laura.
Wow. No, yes, as a conclusion, I would say that this project indeed is somehow very important for me, because, as I said, it's like a coming out. It's the coming out of the fact that now I'm very comfortable in the fact that I can really mix different practice to my approach as designer, and the fact that I feel comfortable to mix scientific knowledge with shamanic practice is a real, step in my artistic approach. So thank you for that, because it was really not expected. So and also thank you for the opportunity of you offered, and the ability I have to discuss with so many interesting people, such as Dan Zevin and other scientists and experts on the preservation of species in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it was really enriching, and it will gives me also a lot of content to work with for the next month. So
thank you. Thank you. Johanna, you're up next.
Yeah, so of course I'm very much looking forward to work with bodies again, and but also having tried out different mediums and means of what it means to work with body in the cyberspace, which I think is very important, and also what means of back talking or talking back, if we approach it from a queer feminist perspective, like what does it mean to perform beyond media, like being in cyberspace or being it out there on the streets. But yeah, I look forward to working with physical bodies again. And next week I have another shooting. I have a new film shooting, and it's my first time with bodies in a long time. So I'm curious how this time has changed myself, or the working with found footage has changed like our organism, how we collaborate within the settings that I set up. And and also regarding sound and dramaturgy, actually I'll film in a nightclub, in an empty nightclub. So there's a lot of, actually I continued an Ed Porn piece, and there are new elements that are now that are joining my work, and I'm super curious of how this develops. But again, thank you so much also to you and the conversations we had. So I'm very happy. Like I'm curious how this is going to develop further.
Thank you. How about Manuelita and Nico? Do you have some final thoughts?
Let's see. I think for us, well, for me, maybe I can speak for Nico a little bit. I think this year was a year important for artists all around the world, in the sense of like, there is a crisis, how are we going to react to this? What are we going to put the spotlight on? What do we want to investigate? How can we be of interest and serve the needs of what's happening around the world through art? What inquiries do we want to bring on, and what are the subjects that matter to us right now? I think for us, the social justice aspect of art is coming along, and yeah, that's what we sort of experimented this year, and it was nice to have the time and the quietness to do it and to see what really mattered to us during that time.
Yeah, and I think maybe I can add that we're also excited to see it grow, like, because right now it's an experiment that has been published for like 2 days now. So we're actually inviting people to add to it and see to what it evolves. So maybe I will also share the link in the chat for the attendees.
I just put the site, the app on there for everybody to go and check out and fill out the questionnaire, and yeah, definitely give us feedback. As we say, it's just an experiment and it's just a starting, and so hopefully we can see it grow and learn from it.
Thank you. Real Madrid, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, like, as I said before, like, we're really glad to have like had the opportunity to like work in this format, which was surprising, and we're really happy that to have had the space and the platform from Swissnex for it. So that's really great. Thank you.
And maybe we'll try to, as we say, like sort of like to use the next time also like to slow down and to have like time to self-reflection. I mean, which is also, I think, what this pandemic also made us, I mean, we can stop in a way, or something can stop, sort of.
Yeah.
We can control time.
Yeah. Or get high.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of you for your projects, for your time, for your energy and contribution. I think it's great. It's been great working with you this past year almost. And to our audience, please do check out the Swissnex website. On the event page, there's links to all of the projects. And join us tomorrow for exploring more questions of collaboration with 4 more artist projects. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swissnex.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.